Welcome, everybody. It's another exciting edition of the Sports Hole. Matty has food hanging out of his mouth. It is disgusting. We have XFL Jim.
Yeah, baby. Got some delicious barbecue chicken.
Where'd you get barbecue chicken from?
I made it myself. I bought a chicken breast with a little
Then you
white
poured
rice,
barbecue sauce on it.
Salt, pepper, onions, barbecue sauce, and I got a doggy eating the scraps underneath.
Wow. You got it all.
That's amazing.
I feel like Caitlin Clark.
You should.
You feel like a winner, Maddie?
The winner.
Paul Pierce likes Caitlin Clark, too.
What do we start with today?
What don't we start with? Do you want to start with Caitlin Clark?
Or should we
You want to start with that
Jim?
rematch with LSU?
I went on Jim's podcast or his stream, and he was like, it was like Christmas for him with all these.
Maddie, I was having the time of my life.
So
What was going on? Fill me in.
Who looks like the best team? And we'll get
I
out
did
of
my
the way.
power rankings come out soon, but I got the Birmingham Stallions are still the top team. Like them, the Brahmas, and the Showboats looked like the best teams.
Did St. Louis win?
No, St. Louis lost to Michigan from the
Wow.
Michigan kicker kicked a 64-yard field goal.
You're kidding.
Is that what was his name?
Bates.
Bates.
At the buzzer?
Yeah.
Do they
last
have
second.
like special kicking things in that league? How did he make a 64-yarder?
You still do field goals. It's just
But
like it's just like a regular football field goal.
What's the NFL record for a field goal?
I think 65 or 66, Justin Tucker versus
NFL
Ryan.
field goal record.
Remember the
66, Justin Tucker 2 years ago.
Oh, that's right.
3 years
Yeah,
ago.
no,
one about Doink.
Yeah,
bounce.
it was against Detroit, wasn't it?
yeah, well, that's
yeah.
like when Jim Dempsey set the original one. It was against
Tom
Detroit.
Dempsey.
Or
Yeah,
Tom
Tom-
Dempsey.
But yeah, so he kicked. It was the ending of the Michigan St. Louis game. It was awesome. So he kicks it, but St. Louis calls a timeout to ice him from 64 yards. Makes that one, no problem. Has to go again. Makes it again, no problem. 64
Wow.
yards.
How's
Crazy.
this guy not in the league?
I think some teams have maybe contacted him.
Yeah, right. Right.
Yeah,
out of the
he looks
gate.
like he'll get the NFL kickers, they rotate. It's like there was a movie about a dog once, and it was very accurate. It was like one of those kids' movies, like a Benji dog. And the father was a kicker, and throughout the movie, they keep moving. And I'm like, that's pretty accurate for a kicker.
And I feel like with the success of like Brandon Aubrey's done a really good job for the Cowboys. I feel like that's just going to set these guys up for like a lot of future success. I thought the level of play for week 1 was better than most of these other spring leagues have had for week 1. Everyone looked good. We even had a fat man touchdown on a fake punt in the San Antonio game. That was awesome.
The crowds were good.
Super fun. Yes, crowds were
Did
good.
they
TV was
not
good.
have like a preseason at all? They just get
No,
right
they
into
did.
it?
They did a 33-day training camp, and that was
Yeah.
it for this season.
How
Oh,
were
okay.
the ratings?
Ratings. So both Fox games got over 1 million, and the
Wow.
ESPN ones I think were around. One was like mid 900,000. The other one was high. The later Easter one I believe was mid 800,000 or like high 800,000. But that doesn't count like ESPN Plus or streaming or anything.
It was a tough
Yeah.
weekend, too, because you got baseball, you got March Madness, and you got the women's March Madness, which is starting to gain a lot of, it's big news now.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they can actually do the impossible and have ratings increase as the season goes on. When it gets a little less busy in the sports season.
Yeah.
Right. That'd be interesting. Yeah, and then I mean it speaks to the product too. If people
The hard
keep
part is
tuning
once
in.
then it gets to basketball playoffs and hockey playoffs. So
Well, guess what? Now they have the only like real kickoff in football now that the NFL's changed.
yeah,
It was awesome. I was on cloud 9. I
I'm
loved
glad you had
every
great. Did you
second
get
of
to
it.
watch March Madness at all?
I caught a little bit of it. I had it on one of the screens. I
we-
even caught the game yesterday a little bit.
Did we talk about Caitlin Clark?
The most electric
I
woman
feel
in
like
sports.
that's the biggest story right now out of all the madnesses.
Well,
going on.
it's weird because like I don't want to talk about Dave Portnoy, but he went to the game and he was like, it was watching greatness, and
Maddie, shut up. You love talking about Dave Portnoy.
I like him. And he went to the game and he was like, it was watching greatness. And to be honest, I don't know how she'll do in the WNBA. I'm sure she'll do great. the things she did were just insane. And she
I-
passes the ball too.
Dude, like
Right.
the most accurate comp that I've seen to her, like people say it's
Jordan.
crazy. No, it's Curry.
I say
Because like
Jordan.
the passing, the 3-point ability is what's crazy. And like just the way she can handle the ball. I see your comp to Curry a lot.
I see Jordan because she just carries her team, and she knows when to score. She knows when to pass. She realized too that you have to step on the gas the whole game. Like there was like you might have been like, "Hey, slow it down," but it's like, don't slow it down. You gotta bury these better teams. Like for the most part, LSU is a better team except for her, and you got to keep going up until about 4 minutes, and then I think you can take the brakes off. But too many times I see teams holding the ball, and then they get lazy, and then they
Yep.
don't get good shots. I say put the gas on, and she did.
Oh, and she was like not just shooting either, like passing the ball. She was going nuts with it.
Yeah, and Angel Reese is very good. I think she'll be a great WNBA player. They have a couple big players that are great, and from what I saw, they put this little girl on Caitlin Clark, the girl that transferred from Louisville, and she just got her clock. Like she just it was a bad matchup, and a lot of people are blaming the coach. That coach is a lot of fun for LSU because she's very colorful. You know, the outfits and the screaming and the
Yeah.
Kim Mulkey, baby.
she's
She's
good
great.
for the game, even though she's very polarizing.
There's a big hit piece on her. Did you read that?
Well,
Did we
then
learn
LA
anything? Was it
Times, wrote a
inaccurate?
piece like it was like it reminded me of when Miami played Notre Dame, Catholics versus convicts kind of deal.
Right. Yeah.
But they took it way out of proportion. They kind of used it as momentum, and it didn't really work.
Mhm.
But they won a national championship. You can't take that away from them.
That's
last
hard to
year.
repeat.
Very hard to repeat, and I think they knew that. And Angel Reese, I think when she got hurt, the game kind of changed a lot. She's such a factor, because they were
Mhm.
killing Iowa on the boards. But hey, man, I enjoyed the game, and I'm excited for Paige Bruckers versus Caitlin Clark, and I'm excited to see. I don't know much about South Carolina, but I guess they're the best team. We'll see.
Okay, South Carolina undefeated on the season. They're
Yeah.
crazy good. Crazy good.
They were
That's
a
nuts.
minus 150 to win it all after the Sweet 16, where UConn is like a plus.
So that's the only thing I still feel like is holding the women's like college, especially college, but women's like basketball back in college is there's like such little parity in that league where
Yeah.
South Carolina and UConn have
Yeah.
dominated women's basketball for years.
I don't.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Do you feel it's weird when men coach the women? Like, it's weird seeing Gino Auriemma, like a 65-year-old man, coaching UConn. I don't know.
If you can coach, you can coach.
I guess.
I don't know. Who do you want to see coach UConn?
I just say like have women coach women. I don't know. People. I don't. I'm not.
Would you be upset if a woman was coaching a man?
No. Maybe.
I think you would.
yes,
I think you got. You're getting a little angry right now,
I go,
taking orders from
man,
a lady.
I've been watching sports my whole life, and ain't no broad gonna be coaching these men. What the?
What is
fuck
that? That girl
going
was on the Spurs. I think she's a head coach.
Yeah.
In WNBA. Becky
Yeah.
Hammond, is that her name?
Yeah, Becky Hammond.
Yeah, maybe she'll be. There's going to be one in the NBA at some point. You just know it.
So I was talking about the parity. I'm looking up like UConn's past championships. UConn's had a team go 39-0, 39-0,
23 Final Fours.
35-4. I mean, Maddie, in the last 10 years alone, they've been to like one. So since 2009, UConn has won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 championships.
Before
Since
that,
2000.
it was Pat Summitt at Tennessee. They used to dominate.
Yeah, they won a bunch too.
Yeah.
And even before in the early 2000s, UConn's just been crazy.
Yeah.
And there's just the records are crazy too. Like the worst records for the women's champion is like 33-4. And that's the average to like the best in the men's tournament. The
Why do
parity
you
is just
think-
crazy.
So Gino Auriemma probably started coaching when he was like in his 30s. Why do you think he chose like women's basketball? It's so odd. Like I'm gonna be a women's basketball coach as a man. I don't know.
I know guys that have been coaches for various women's sports, and it does there. It's weird because you know him as like just a dude you're hanging out with,
Yeah.
and then they're like coaching women later on. And it just doesn't make sense. But I don't know. It's a different kind of coaching style, I guess. You know, I think women are better listeners, Maddie.
I can see the ladies love Gino. Like after the game, they all were very happy, like celebrate with him. And but Caitlin Clark is must see TV, I must say.
She's electric.
You,
I can't.
well,
Are you gonna watch
remember when that's-
WNBA?
I'm curious to see how she does. You know, we'll see. You know, I don't know. I haven't watched men's WNBA, so I don't know how good she'll be when everybody's really good. You know, but she's like, she just dominates. It's seriously
She
like
does.
if there's like 6-year-old kids playing, and then there's one like 10-year-old, and you're just like, okay, this is not fair. That's kind of how it feels.
Yeah, we'll see if
Did
it
you watch the game,
translates. I'm
Luke?
sure it will. No, I've been pretty busy this week. so
Jesus,
I got
what kind of
family
man
in
are you?
town.
You're gonna
He's
have
a
to
busy
castrate
man.
me. Yeah, you're
I'm
gonna have
busy,
to castrate me.
motherfucker.
You don't got time for those broads. You know, it's
No,
funny.
I
'cause
would
there's-
totally do it if I was
I'm
available.
sold, and I've always not been a women's sports fan. Like I like
or a
women's
fan of
soccer.
women in general.
No, not a fan of women. And it's like funny because like I talk to a lot of friends, and some have come around, and then some won't. They're still like, "Fuck that," and I'm like, "You gotta watch
What
her."
is
They're like,
how's Clay
"I will
Travis
never
handling
watch."
all this?
Huh?
Oh, Clay
How's Clay
Travis is
Travis
living.
handling all this?
Yeah.
It's Clay Travis, and then it's Darren Ravel because Ravel's being like, she should stay in college and she'll make more money doing that. And that's all he talks about with her.
Well, I
What is
think her
Caitlin Clark, a
brand
junior?
is going to be bigger in college. I think he's got a point to that where her brand and that college brand is just bigger, you know.
Is
Maybe, but
Caitlin
like,
Clark a
I'm-
junior?
Who's like the biggest person in the WNBA right now?
I wouldn't
That's
even
the
know.
problem. We can't
Yeah,
tell you.
but it's going to be her automatically. And I know for a fact, like I forget the person's name, but she just got like a $25 million deal with Adidas.
And then
Really?
check this out.
Yes.
Okay.
And for
Well,
Angel
somebody
Reese,
offered her the Ice Cube offered her like $5 million for
Yeah,
the big
$5
million.
fight.
I'll tell you this: Angel Reese is going to be a very good WNBA player too, and they're
I
always
hope
going to be
that
put
rivalry
together.
will be sick. I want that.
And she's going to make a lot of money because of Caitlin Clark. So it's good for everybody.
Yeah.
And they're going to be rivals, and they're always like when they play each other, it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a lot like, I have to say it, Magic Bird kind of feel. I'll even say Peyton Manning, Tom Brady kind of feel. Like this will be good for women's basketball that they are rivals. And they handled everything very well yesterday. Hats off to both teams. It was a good show. And I watched the whole game. Didn't get bored one bit.
Well, that's
Highest
good.
watched, highest rated women's basketball game ever.
Good for them. Good
Like
for
13, however many million people. I forget.
By the way, I grew up near Albany, and Rebecca Lobo took a nasty shot at Albany, and people in Albany are very pissed.
Wait, why would she go after Albany?
It's a shithole. Actually, Jack Nicholson did a movie there, and he called it the Armpit of America.
Is that the crossing guard?
Yeah. So there was
Yeah,
a moment.
I watched that one.
There was a moment in the game where they go, the announcer goes, Caitlin Clark's. They showed her parents, and they're like, oh, her parents are like, she was like, just leave me alone. Just find some stuff to do in Albany. And Rebecca Lobo goes, there's actually nothing to do in Albany.
That's
And she's-
hilarious, though. That's
She's
funny.
not wrong, but a lot of people are mad.
Yeah,
It's true. It's a shithole.
that's hilarious. So, Maddie, after you get done chewing that chicken, can you tell us what's going on with the boys in March Madness? It seems like no matter what story they keep pumping out from this, it's
Yeah.
just UConn,
No,
Like,
no.
The world is behind NC
No.
State.
I
And
know
world
that,
is
but it just
behind
feels
NC
like it's
State.
inevitable with UConn.
It's actually
though.
crazy how much UConn's
but
just
the
been
story-
dominating everybody. It's
The
fucking
story
nuts.
is NC State.
I know that's the
because-
story, but doesn't it feel like okay,
Yeah,
that's
UConn
nice?
is rolling. UConn is obviously rolling,
Right.
but like I saw a video of the NC State guys coming back. It was like the fucking Beatles. Like they were mobbed. It's a beautiful thing because when you get a real Cinderella, and I started going to North Carolina because my brother-in-law is from there. So I became familiar with it. So there's a thing called the triangle. And that's Duke, North Carolina, NC State. And they're all within 30 miles. And it's a big deal, like, who you root for.
Mm.
And NC State is the bitch, you know?
Yeah, sure.
So for them, they're the little guy. Like, this is a
Right.
big fucking deal. UConn, yeah, they roll over people, but it's kind of boring.
No,
I
that's
mean,
what I'm saying though. It
NC
just
State,
feels
yeah.
like that's just looming in the shadows no matter what story
Alright.
they're pushing,
It's going to be hard to beat him. We'll see Zach Edey.
I was gonna say,
versus-
Matty, are you
yeah.
ready to get really pissed off and see NC State's big man get fouled out like with like 5 minutes left to go in the game because the
I'm
way they call
curious to
Zach
see-
Edey is such bullshit.
I'm curious to see how the game goes. I gained a lot of respect for Zach Edey.
They call it the same way they give him everything, dude. He can't commit a foul.
I disagree. I think he gets fouled all the time and he never complains. And it's like Shaq. Like, guys would just beat the fuck out of Shaq.
Yeah, but it's that plus fine, give him that. But
Yeah.
he fouls all the time and never gets called for it. He doesn't get called for shit.
Well, you're talking like a Nebraska guy in the Big Ten.
No,
Yeah.
I've watched a lot of Zach Edey basketball, and the
I
way
didn't
he gets
think-
called is crazy.
The last game I watched, I've watched every game. So I watched every elite game. I didn't think the officiating was that. There's some times that like we'll get a call, but I didn't think it was that like, oh my God, there's special treatment for him. I just got to be honest. And I root against him all the time, so I'm not a Purdue guy one bit.
I'm rooting for Purdue. They're like sort of one of those like, why not Purdue?
Well,
they
they've
never
been
really
so
win it
good.
much.
Yeah.
They've got the Virginia factor too of like a redemption arc.
Yeah, and
Yep.
it's like a good school, good engineer school.
Yeah. Look, they have a good coach. They have a good team. They've always been a bad tournament team. And last year was like, it's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing to lose as the number 1 seed in the first round.
Yeah.
And like Jim said, Virginia won the next year. It's going to be hard because the Connecticut center, and his name escapes me, he can match up with Edey. Like he can check him out of the game. And if you do that, UConn is a better team. If those guys cancel each other out.
Yeah.
I like
And
how we've already just kind of like discounted Alabama.
Oh
Yeah, and you never know. It's so
Well-
hard to repeat.
The issue with Bama is like I've been talking about this with people who watch a lot of SEC. The second
Yeah.
they have like an off shooting night, they get cooked. They've
I
just had a
know.
really good streak in the tournament of they've been
Yeah.
on shooting the three. And if that continues, they can beat anybody. My guess it'll turn off against UConn because somehow that keeps happening, and UConn will roll them just like UConn's been rolling everybody.
Illinois is the second best offensive team in the league. They put no points up for I think the second half they had 4 points after 10 minutes.
Brutal.
So UConn has incredible defense. They probably will win it all, but the story of NC State is why this tournament is so important to America, so important to sports, that you get these Cinderella teams that the coach is going to get fired. They're not going to make the tournament. They get a lucky 3 versus Virginia, and now they're in the Final Four, and you're like, what the fuck? They had to beat North Carolina too. Think about that. In the finals, they weren't going to make the tournament, even making it to the finals. So it's a hell of a story. They got a guy who's kind of fat, who's a lot of fun. He's a character. You got Danny Cannell's nephew, Ben Milbrooks. I don't know if you guys remember Danny Cannell, average quarterback on the Giants.
I listened to his
Florida
podcast.
State. Yeah, very good sports guy. So I'm looking forward to the Final Four.
Well, I
Me
think
too.
we all are. We have the
Well,
NIT
Luke, you gotta-
semifinals.
This is what you got to do, Luke. I'll try to download you YouTube TV.
Yeah.
You got the in-laws in the town. You
Yeah.
put your cell phone at the restaurants you go to and just say, I'm doing fucking work for the sports hall.
Shut the fuck up.
Exactly.
We got tens of listeners counting on this.
Exactly.
Damn right we do.
They need to hear our great, analyzation of these
Ah,
games.
analyzation.
as if nobody's talked about them.
That's right. What
Yeah.
else is going on
Well,
here?
baseball started, if anybody cares.
Yeah, Maddie, get us abreast on baseball here.
The Yankees are 4-0. They killed the Astros. We already had a no-hitter by the Astros against the Blue Jays yesterday.
Mm.
The A's suck. The Rangers look pretty good. That's about it I can say.
I
mean,
saw the
it's
picture of the crowd for the A's game. It was hilarious.
Well, what they're doing is they're tailgating, and then they're not going in out of protest.
Yeah, because they're moving to Vegas. Is it 28 or what
Yeah, I
year?
think 28.
Like they're gonna get nobody until like
No,
what?
it's a mess.
So they just
Yeah.
party in the parking lot.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I think they said it was like what would they say? Like 2,000 or 3,000 people went in.
God,
No, it's
not even worth selling. I mean, can you like?
The truth of the matter is, Oakland just can't support sports teams anymore. It just can't. It's a different time.
Is it just
Yeah.
because it's so expensive to be there?
Well, San Francisco is really close, so it's like, New York has the Yankees and the Mets, but New York is bigger than San Francisco and Oakland. And there's more money there. Well, there's a lot of money in San Francisco, but I just think because it's so close to San Francisco, the Oakland teams just can't support. They just can't do it anymore. It sucks because there's so much tradition.
Yeah, I should do a little dive on that.
And then people are loyal, but it's not a lot of people. That's the problem.
Right.
And they probably don't have the money that San Francisco has to get the luxury boxes. And
Yeah,
it's
probably
more of
not.
like, there was a great documentary on Oakland sports on HBO, and they pointed out like these were the blue collar people. These weren't the rich San Francisco. These were like the Hells Angels and the more common people, as
Right.
opposed to it doesn't work in sports anymore. I mean, probably
Also,
you go
like
to
I know
Vegas.
a grip of people that moved, like they're sort of San Francisco people that moved to Oakland.
Sure.
Like like it's become. I don't know. I mean, I can't. I'm just
When I was
speaking
looking
off
for
the top of my
places up
head,
there,
but-
it was the cheaper option in the
Right.
Bay Area. But
Yeah.
like, so what a lot of people do because San Francisco is so expensive, you'll work in San Francisco and just
Live in Oakland.
commute from Oakland.
Right.
And
So
ask
think of it as
yourself-
like
And now everything in Oakland's
like
expensive
it's
as fuck.
becoming the
Yeah.
valley of LA.
And
like,
and ask yourself, like, Jim, if you live in Oakland, are you going to buy a luxury box?
No, Maddie, no.
Exactly. No offense. You're not in that tax bracket.
I almost moved to Oakland.
Yeah.
why
It's a
why
cool
were you going to
city.
move up there?
I was gonna get a job with the Giants, the San Francisco
Really?
Giants, but the only like cheapest place I could live would have been like Oakland or like I forget one of the other areas up there.
Yeah. No, it's hard to come by.
And it was still gonna be it was like a fucking box studio for like $1,700 a month. That place sucked.
I've been to Piedmont. Have you been to Piedmont?
Probably.
That's a cool area. But again, like, it's just sad that they can't. Great fans, but it's
Yeah.
over.
One thing I find funny about the beginning of baseball season is like, so you open up playing the same team like 4 times, right?
Yeah.
So like the
Mhm.
Tigers are 4-0 now.
Yeah.
Because they were playing the Mets, who are shitty apparently.
Yeah. The Mets are
Um,
awful.
But then it's like, yeah, then you don't know you still don't know how good your team
No.
really is. You probably won't know for like several series.
You know what it's like? You play the first 30 games, and then about within 30 to 60, you know who you are.
Yeah.
Because I've seen the Pirates be like 20-10. They're having a great start, and then reality kicks in, and then
Yeah.
they go back to 20 under 500 at the end of the season. So by like game 30 or to 60, you figure out who you are.
Right. No, that's a trip. It's just
Yeah.
funny though. It's that's why everybody's so excited about the beginning of baseball season, and then a lot of people check out until the playoffs. Because
Opening day is fun because it's wild. Like, opening day will be sold out, and
yeah,
then the next day it will be empty.
right.
It's like, why not just go when it's empty?
Oh, that's fun. Yeah. All right. It's some sad news in the world of sports. Vontae Davis was found dead
Yeah,
the other day.
he quit football. He was the guy that quit.
Why'd he quit?
I know, I just quit in the middle of the season one year. Well, I don't know much about him.
So I don't know what happened. I think he was only like 35.
Very sad.
Yeah. I think signs are pointing to suicide. But
Yeah, he
Is that what they're
seems like
saying?
he quit football in the middle of the season, so obviously there was a lot of things going on that we didn't know about.
yeah,
Very sad.
It's tough, man. It's a tough. It can be a
Mhm.
tough life if you get hit in the head too many times. In some weird news that probably would have been much bigger news 2 years ago, Florida State and Clemson are going to be joining the Big Ten in 2025.
So is this official
so
or is this
funny.
an April Fool's thing?
Where did I see it? Maybe I read an April Fool's joke.
I mean, why would it be if USC? You would think if USC and UCLA and Washington joined the Big Ten, I'd probably
I
go.
mean, to me, it
Is
doesn't
everyone-
sound like a.
Everyone pegs them for the SEC is the only reason.
Okay,
Yeah.
maybe I just said a bunch of bullshit. Because
Why call it the Big Ten though? Why don't you call it whatever? How many teams?
It
are
is
in
the
league?
rumor. Okay, it is an official rumor.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
it's a
reading on
rumor.
USA Today. It doesn't. Yeah, this would happen in 2025. So yeah, I am. I didn't realize that was just a rumor.
Did you see any James Franklin news?
No. Why was there James Franklin?
He's
I saw that.
sticking
Yeah.
around for 10,000 more years. That's
No, he
what.
said he
Did they
will
extend
resign
him,
if
or-
they don't make the playoffs. That's what he
He
said.
said he'll what?
Resign. He's putting
Well-
his chips on the table right now.
They
I
have
like
a
it.
good chance. They tend to be about the third
Yeah,
best
They're
team.
returning a
although
lot
now,
too.
With
but that's a ballsy thing to say.
especially for a guy who sort of has a great contract without getting his team to the next level. Maddie,
Well-
you have just the grossest snot coming out of your nose right now.
No, it's actually rice. It was a piece of rice.
That's better.
Why
I'd say
did you
rice
get
is better.
rice in your fucking nostril? dude?
I want an
He's
apology.
scarfing. He's scarfing right
I
now.
was
This
scarfing
is
the
what
chicken.
you guys should be watching too.
Listen,
just for
I
Maddie.
want a written apology because you said it was not.
Yeah, I'll write it, dude. I'll write that down for you.
I got a big.
But it's so
cut on my
funny though,
nose,
like,
too,
but even just talking about this rumor, it just it doesn't even, it's like sort of like, oh, okay. I don't know about you guys, but I can just kind of feel all this shit's inevitable at
yeah,
this point where
I'm just surprised it'd be the Big Ten.
they're just going to be two
right with
conferences.
proximity to more to the SEC, you would think. But who knows?
The
Yeah.
ACC is going to be so bad.
Well, the
who
ACC
knows?
It'll probably
those
not be a
conferences-
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Notre Dame again is going to be out there flying solo. I don't know how
Yeah.
NBC is going to keep hanging on to Notre Dame when
Well,
They just
Notre
make
Dame
so much
don't
money,
make
dude.
plans.
No, I know
They are-
it's
they
good
are
for
like-
Notre Dame, but
Yeah,
It's also
Like-
it's good for I think they're in a good spot too because if Notre Dame's like pretty damn good, which they've been consistently for the last I don't know, I'll give them like 7 years. They should be able to consistently make the playoffs.
but they've been good. But I don't.
They've
I
been
don't.
playoff level good.
If you in 16 team.
Yeah,
level
and like the level
playoffs,
that we have the
good.
playoffs right now.
Maybe
Final
I
Four.
don't know because I think with these
They
super
made the Final
conferences-
Four once, didn't they?
Twice.
They made it a couple
Yeah,
times.
they made it twice.
They got
but they got
smoked.
smoked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
smoked.
half the teams that made the Final Four got smoked.
No, I understand that, but I feel.
Michigan got smoked twice. Let's be honest.
Yes, but they improved. And Notre
Yes,
Dame
they
just
finally
basically
did.
has to wait until they get another senior laden team, and Michigan will probably be the same way. But
Like
You
they're
know.
they're good enough to consistently make it into the 16-team playoff and probably even win a game, maybe two.
I guess, but I don't know how you're going to judge them much if they're, just doing independent stuff while other people are going week in, week out with these rough ass conferences.
It depends, like how they schedule because like maybe that is tough now that you
I just
have
want
like
to say my chicken was.
they'll
so
probably
good.
just be playing more Big Ten teams, but
Congratulations,
not
Maddie.
be in the Big Ten or something like that.
What's that?
They'd probably just play more Big
So
Ten
they're
teams and
in-
just
in
not
ba-
be in
Well, they already
conference.
like balked from that, and they kind of sort of semi joined the SE or the ACC.
Yeah,
But like
'Cause
now
of
that conference is
basketball,
going to
they're in the ACC.
fold at some point.
It's weird that they could be in basketball in the ACC and then not have a conference in football. It's kind of odd.
There's a couple schools like that, I think.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah,
BYU was like that too when they were independent.
right. I can't even keep track of all these motherfuckers.
yeah. It's hard to keep track. It's
Liberty
hard to
too.
keep-
Liberty was like that when they were independent.
it's also hard to keep track of who's playing, like who's gonna leave for what school and who's at this school.
Guys, have you tried looking at the transfer portal at all?
I saw DJ, the guy that played for Clemson, Oregon, is now Oregon State, is now Florida State. I'm like, he's been in college forever.
Yes. Damn right he has. It's the same with basketball too, though. Like,
dude, yeah.
Anytime your team is done, it's just just transfers galore. There's just a billion transfers.
These guys, and they say like what year they are. It's always freshman to senior, and now it's like graduate, something else that's like 6 years. And these guys are playing 6 years.
So I'm trying to think. We probably still have. So if you were a freshman in 2020, we probably still have about 1 to 2 more years of the COVID year being a thing.
Oh God. Yeah. And that's if no one was injured too, you know.
I'm just saying the extra COVID stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. That extra.
Because that's made it so much, like Maddie was saying, with DJU being in what feels like he's been in college football for 7+ years.
I know.
It feels like his career is going to be college football. Like he's not good enough to be in the NFL. So he'll just figure out how to get eligibility until he's like 35.
That one Michigan quarterback is like in his doctorate program. They basically think that's why he stayed.
I feel the same way with like Jackson Dart and guys like that have been everywhere. Like he's been in college forever.
Right. Yeah. It is bizarre. I'm not a big fan of it, to be honest. I don't think it's fair to younger people, even though I want these guys to have shots at whatever, but if you're not going to be pro, you can't just keep dragging this shit out when you're playing against 18-year-olds and you're like 24. It's just,
I think 2 more years and the COVID year stuff should be behind us. So then it's just injury. So it won't be as common after that.
No, I'm sure, but they'll find ways to keep people around. I don't know.
They'll do red shirt shit and whatnot, but it won't be like, you won't have these guys playing for like 8 years.
Right.
Crazy.
That is insane. I think Michigan's basketball team is going to be essentially all like senior transfers next year too.
That's how basketball, especially. But
I'll
so
take it because that's how you win with some seniors.
It's wild that Nick Saban got out. He's just like, I'm out.
You can't compete in this.
That's right, and that's why
level.
Chip Kelly left being a head coach just to go be an assistant. You know, and there was a few people that did that. They're like, "Fuck this! I'm not like."
Changed so much,
and maybe once we stop getting out of like the wild west of NIL and transfer portals, because maybe like, hey, if you're transferring for NIL, I think it's the combination of the two things, NIL and transfer portal. I think if you get these places that get a little bit smarter, get a little bit more understanding, maybe you lock these kids into a multiple year contract. Otherwise, they don't get paid.
That's insane. Yeah.
It's very bizarre because the payment isn't coming from the school though. It's coming from the sponsors.
I think we're only a matter of time until like they're getting salary.
It's
a matter of time.
When I was watching the Caitlin Clark game, 80% of the commercials had her on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, she's making bank.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I think it's only a matter of time until we get the players are paid by the school.
DJ Burns, like you need to get an agent, you need to get a manager, you need to I don't know how you'll do in the NBA, but you got potential to make 10 mil right now. Especially in North Carolina with barbecue and stuff.
No, you should get a sponsorship from like Ozempic.
OnlyFans.
And then slim down.
DJ Burns OnlyFans?
Yeah.
Oh boy. You'd need 2 OnlyFans just to see that guy.
Oh, he's a lot of fun. He's so fun to root for.
I love him.
Yeah, he's great. He just has the spirit. He's always smiling.
Did you see him walking out with the boombox?
I saw them coming out. There was a video of them coming back to campus, and it was like they were the Beatles, man. They were the freaking Beatles.
That's a trip.
My dream. That's my dream,
dude.
I wish I could be there.
Don't know if you guys saw this one. There was the German soccer team. They were getting some jersey redesigns, and the fans kept getting the number 44 when they were ordering it. And then if you looked at it, the 2 4s combined look exactly like the SS symbol.
Pretty bad font choice.
I don't know how the fuck they do that.
Look, you have the you have the anti-Semitism story of the week.
I do. I always like. I'm a big fan of anti-Semitism, and I like to share
Yeah.
the, spread it around, and I like to
Those
shame
damn
them.
Germans.
Shame on you, Germany! How could you do that?
I would think they would get
It's
the
like
number
definitely
88.
the worst thing Germany's ever done.
Well, I would
Especially the
think
Jewish people.
Yeah.
I think the number 88 would probably be more offensive because
Oh, that was the
88
what was the
eight-
Hitler thing with
well, that
88?
means Hail Hitler because it's
Oh, right.
the eighth letter, so it's 88.
But this
So
font
when
looked exactly
yes.
like the SS logo too.
Well,
It was
I mean, I don't know what to say. The scary world out there.
Man, I don't think you need to say anything.
Julian Edelman has written Germany a letter already.
He's yeah.
It's
He's
bad.
doing
What-
well, man.
yeah.
He's got tons of podcasts. He's doing very good
Who,
now. He's
Edelman?
retired. Yeah.
Is he, and he's controlling banks too?
He's controlling
He's
banks
head
and
of Bank of America now. Is that what's
Yeah.
going on?
But his podcast is pretty good. Like he's
Oh,
very
does he have his own podcast?
No, he always
yeah,
seemed like a
he
sharp
does.
guy.
Well,
Except
he's
when he
fun,
hooked up
dude. He
with
tells
that
a lot of
girl who
he-
took a
he-
picture of him after she fucked him.
Well, look, there's a video
Just
floating
fucked.
around of Zach Eady taking a girl in his room, and it's so odd because
Maddie, how come there was never a Snapchat of some girl like, I just fucked Goldberg, and it was just you just with rice hanging out of your nose, drooling on your pillow?
someday I do have a good story about a girl one time though. I like that,
What?
but I'd be bragging. So
Brag, brag
What is
away.
she? Was this back in like the early 2000s? She sent like an email chain out.
no, she was like a comedian, but not really. And I met her at a show, and she was coming off a breakup, and we went on a few dates, and then she had like this mental breakdown. I didn't hear from her, and then she moved to New York, and then she started like hitting me up after she like totally ghosted me. I'm like, you ghosted me. She's like, I'm sorry, I was going through stuff, a breakup. So she flew me to New York because she felt so bad for like a weekend of
Of what, Maddie?
Good times.
SEX.
Oh, wow.
So I booked a comedy show for her to come, and she came, and this guy was hitting on her, and he was laying on pretty hard, and she goes
Mhm.
to him, but I'm fucking Manny Goldberg.
I like that.
Oh,
That's
man.
good.
Wow,
That's
you
good.
did have a little moment. That's
Yeah.
good.
Unfortunately, I had to go back to California, and she met a guy, but she was a really cool girl.
She sounds cool.
Yeah, she was named her father was a punk rocker, original punk rocker, and she was
Really?
named after him. Yeah, I'll tell you the name off the air, but it's
Okay.
really
Damn.
That's
so
great.
like it is crazy. Her dad is British, and he was friends with like Sid Vicious and all those guys, and like Sid who hung out with Nancy, which is like a Jewish girl from Jersey,
Yeah.
which he murdered or supposedly murdered. Her mom is like a Jersey girl, and her dad was this punk rocker.
That's great. That's quite a combo, man.
Yeah, but she was cute. I used to even a disgusting guy like me, you get a lady here and there. There's hope for you, Jim.
Maddie, I have a lady.
I know.
That's
I
right.
know. There's hope for you, Luke.
Thank you. I'll tell my wife that. Let her
Yeah.
know. Let her know. So what's going on with Zach Eady? He had a girl.
Yeah, there's a video floating around of him bringing a girl to his room, and I felt bad because it's like it's invasion of privacy, but I watched
Sure.
it. But the girl's
let-
like half his size, and he can't like. You just see how awful it is to be 7'4". Like he has
Right.
to like go. He has to go in the room like this.
Oh my God.
Yeah, my buddy had a roommate that was like 7'2"
Yeah.
back in Nebraska. He had to get a special bed
Yeah.
Right?
because the regular beds were too short for
I
him.
hope he played
He
basketball.
probably has to put his
did.
feet out the window to go down on her.
Yeah.
Like just to get parallel. Like
You
that.
see his shoes like out the door,
Right,
just like
yeah,
the
then you
Wicked
know-
Witch.
Yep. And they're just
Just
dangling
twiddling his
and-
toes.
yeah. That's what's going on with that.
Good times, boys.
Good times, boys. Any more sports news you want to discuss right now
Oh,
before we head on over?
hit the dark side because this was a good episode.
What a name.
Dark Side of the Ring. This
One
week,
of my favorite
Brutus,
names.
The Barber, Beefcake. That's right. What was his
I
name?
feel-
Real name? Ed Leslie?
Yeah, Brutus is way better. You gotta add the beefcake to make, like, the beefcake makes it work.
It's just such a great name, the Beefcake.
It doesn't work. Like,
Jim,
if
did
you were
you
just
know about
Brutus
him
the Barber,
before?
it wouldn't work. No,
Did
I
you
did
know-
not, Maddie. I did
It's
not.
so weird. I'm so old. Like I remember him as Brutus Beefcake, and then I remember he became the Barber.
It works for me.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm trying to
having
remember if I
Barber there,
do
it works.
remember him not being the Barber.
Well, he was before. He was just Brutus Beefcake. He
Right.
was just the bad guy.
Yeah. I didn't
He was-
wait. So he was just he was just Bruce Beefcake when he was with Valentine, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I do remember that, I guess, but in my brain it somehow all meshed together.
Somehow, like Vince, I think when the Undertaker was a hit, and I
Yeah.
didn't know if they knew if the Undertaker was going to be a hit. They're like, we got to turn this into like cartoon land, where everybody's some sort of character.
Yeah.
So when he came back, you just can't be Brutus Beefcake. You have to be Brutus the Barber Beefcake, strutting and cutting.
Yeah. It was cool. It's weird. And you got to see the side of his butt cheeks. That was great. So he came up.
Yeah.
He's a Florida guy like Hogan.
Yep,
Tampa.
Yep.
Terry Bollea. And they were like best friends.
Mhm.
And as Hogan got into wrestling, Beefcake got into wrestling, and they followed Hogan all around through the local territories, and then all the way into the WWE. Vince McMahon, and there he became. His name was Ed Leslie. He became
Ed
Brutus Beefcake, and then he teamed up with Greg the Hammer Valentine. If you ever want a treat, watch some Greg Valentine outtakes, because he says some real weird shit.
This is what he does. He goes like this, and then he does the.
Yeah,
His promos are always very racist too.
that's right. Yeah,
Like when he
look
wrestled
up
Tito
Greg
San-
Valentine and Junkyard Dog.
Oh yeah, and then with Tito Santana, it'd be like, "You're selling fruit for 50 cents," or just really, crude stuff like that. But he was
Yeah.
he was more of a technical wrestler, and Brutus, honestly, like even as a kid, like you liked the outfits and it was fun because he was like this macho guy. But as far as a technical wrestler, 1 out of 10, he was probably a 2 or a 3.
Yeah, there was an age where you could be not a great wrestler.
Just
and
be a
you
big
just had to
vibes
have
guy.
a bunch of charisma and have a lot of muscles back
You
then.
didn't have the
be friends
aura.
with-
That's what all the people are saying nowadays. You had to have an aura.
And no
that-
offense, you had to be friends with Hulk Hogan because that certainly helped him.
Yes, and it sucks because he was a great character too in his
Yeah.
own right.
But I always
Beefcake
noticed
man.
too, I don't. At the time, wrestling was very kayfabe.
Yeah,
I was like, why is Brutus always with Hulk Hogan? Like, why does Hulk Hogan always have to make Brutus his tag team partner and make him a part of everything? Because
yeah.
Hogan was on a much bigger level.
I
than
didn't
Brutus.
realize so he was with Greg Valentine, and they won.
Tag
What
team
were they?
champ.
The Dream Team? Is that what they were called?
Something
Or-
like that, yeah.
Yeah. And they won the championship, and they were very popular. And then Vince decided to split them up, as he always does.
Always
and
dumb.
Make Brutus the Barber Beefcake. And this
Mm-hmm.
was Brutus's reaction when he learned he was now going to be a barber.
What's going on? I said, what's going on? This is what's going on. I quit. This is bullshit. What does a barber do in wrestling?
I assume he cuts people's hair still.
I mean, Vince had Duke the Dumpster Drozy, a garbage man. He
Well, he
had the Goon, a hockey-
a tugboat
Tugboat,
operator
yeah.
who wrestles.
It got very silly, and
Did they ever
why
do a
Doug-
dentist one?
That Ivan
Yeah,
Yankum.
Isaac
That's
Yankum,
what that was Kane. The original
Yeah.
Kane was.
You know
that.
why WCW took over? Because they gave everybody real names and they didn't do that bullshit. And Vince got away from it too. Like eventually he had to go back to like just guys being guys because these characters were so dumb.
Yeah. So, and he became he was very popular as Brutus
Yeah,
the
he
Barber,
was.
and then
The barbershop.
got into one of the most ridiculous shit accidents I've ever seen, a parasailing accident in Florida on 4th of July. He was partying with his bros and their buddy with a speedboat that would take everybody parasailing. And some girl was lining up and they're all drunk and the boat just took off and this girl just ended up kneeing full speed in his face, and his face just exploded, and his like the roof of his mouth was hanging down where his jaw should have been, and his eyes were all fucked up. And this was the local surgeon who got a call that guess who you're gonna be operating on today.
So the guy on the phone said, it's a Brutus Beefcake. He is severely injured and they need your help immediately. I said, Brutus Beefcake? Never heard this name. And
Yes, so that guy had surprisingly never heard of Brutus Beefcake.
How dare he?
How dare he? What a dumb dipshit. And
Yeah.
this was a major, I mean, they like split this, they peeled this guy's face off. They
Yeah, I
had to
heard.
like do complete reconstructive surgery. Half of his face now is made out of titanium.
And he wanted to die. He kept telling the doctor to put him out.
Yeah, like he's like, I didn't know somebody could be in this much pain and live. This is like the worst pain he's ever had.
Jesus.
His best friend Hogan comes down back to
Yep.
Florida to help him out, and they go for a walk, and then this happens when they're going for a walk around the hospital.
I was there, you know, talking to him. They walked down the hallway and Brutus's eyeball fell out,
Oh,
popped out of the socket.
And Hulk's looking at my eyeball popped out, just, oh my God, Doc, we got to get him back.
Yeah, so
that happened to me.
There's a casual eyeball fallout.
That
yeah,
happens.
oh
That happens.
yeah, I think that does happen with bulldogs. I've heard that their
That's pretty- that's
eyeballs
pretty
are
nasty,
prone
man.
to fall out. So if you own a bulldog, beware.
If that happened to someone while you were like hanging out with them, Maddie, do you think you'd throw up?
No, I would save the day. I would pick up their eyeball with a napkin. I would clean it up, and I would get them to the doctor as soon as possible.
So when they
Maddie,
say it
if you're in
popped
a
out, is it
crisis,
still
Maddie's
like
the guy you want on your team?
I'm a hero, man. I'm not a zero.
popped out? Is it still connected?
yeah,
probably
it's
not.
still
Imagine-
connected
yeah.
to the nerves and whatnot.
Yeah, everything. It's just
I would
dangling.
think it would fall to the ground like a ball.
No, I think it's just dangling.
No,
there.
it doesn't fall down and
Oh.
roll around.
I can't even. Oh, it's so disgusting. I just ate. I'm gonna vomit that chicken now.
Well, Maddie, we had to watch rice fall out of your nose, so think how we feel. Tongue out of there. That's so disgusting. So after that, needless to say, it was a long recovery. He wasn't going to be going back to wrestling. So Hogan at the time was also taking a break because he had to, because they were in the middle of the steroid scandal in
Mhm.
WWE, and he testified. Brutus did, and helped get him and Vince off. So Hogan repaid the favor and got him in some movies. And wait, no, I'm jumping ahead, but he ends up coming back to WCW, and they didn't know what to do with him because they
Yeah.
couldn't use Brutus or Beefcake or the Barber because Vince McMahon owned all those. And so he's playing like 4 different characters because they didn't know what the fuck to do with him.
You know, I
but-
could read behind the lines of that one.
yeah,
With Bischoff.
yeah,
Because they
no,
have Bischoff on it, and I could tell his thing was like, look, I would have never had him, but Hogan was a big star, and Hogan wanted him, and that was the deal.
yeah, it was an unspoken kind of thing, apparently.
Yeah.
Like, even though it like wasn't necessarily in Hogan's contract, it was like, if you're bringing me in, bringing my boy Brutus in
Exactly.
too. So, but surprisingly though, through all these character changes, he thought it was a good thing. Like he could play all these different people. So this is what he
Man.
thought of his own acting ability.
I thought he was a jack of all trades.
Brutus thinks he's as good as Mel Gibson as an actor.
Yeah, he called himself the Mel Gibson of wrestling, and that was the Nasty Boy.
You know what he
commented on
reminds
that.
me of?
Do you guys think it was the acting, or do you think he's like a huge anti-Semite?
The act.
What do you-
Well, Mel
I'm
Gibson.
gonna go. I don't
Oh,
think.
Mel-
that-
oh,
I don't think Mel,
Yeah.
Mel Gibson got. I don't think Mel Gibson got in trouble back then. So I'm gonna go with just the acting because
yeah,
this is probably like 97 or 98.
yeah,
I think Mel Gibson got in trouble in the 2000s.
right. Yeah, it all started to unravel way
But
after
I
that.
will say, it seems like the way Bischoff describes it, he was there. We didn't really know what to do with him. We'd like try these characters, but it was like whatever. But we're doing Hogan a favor, and he's not a bad guy, but I'm not gonna say he's a great wrestler because he's not.
Well,
That's
it was
kinda how I
funny too,
felt.
is I forgot that time he spent as the disciple.
Yeah.
He basically, they go through all these characters, they don't know what to do with them. He's like, all right, fuck this. He goes back to Florida and he just gets ripped at 45. And he's like comes back with a beard and long hair and he's like unrecognizable.
Yeah.
You'd never think this is the same guy in the spandex, and he's like wrestling now in black jeans and being cool, and he's like a disciple of Hogan, and that just really didn't go too far either, though, unfortunately. And that was his big comeback. And so he gets cut, and then he has a money manager that basically steals all of his fucking money. So if you have a money manager, don't keep all your
careful.
money with him. Have a little
Be
stash somewhere
very
else.
careful.
Because then Brutus's wife leaves him, so he follows his wife to Boston, and he works as a toll booth worker for a long time. And during this time, he claims he's got some white powder that is an aspirin, but everybody else is basically saying it's cocaine. And a lady found it one day and thought it was anthrax, so they shut down the whole toll booth. And
It's Brutus's coke.
it's just Brutus's coke, baby. But this was back during anthrax scares.
Yeah.
So old Brutus got fired for having coke at his job. I mean, how can you even pay for a coke habit if you're a toll booth worker? That
You
might
prioritize. You
He's
prioritize.
addiction. Yeah,
Right.
he's addicted. I mean,
All
look,
right.
you got to do a toll booth like 6 hours in that little box. I'd be doing coke too.
I used to want to do that kind of job.
I wouldn't. I'd be in hell.
Have a
Yeah,
little
it-
TV up
Adam
there and watch
Sandler.
sports all day.
Have you ever seen Adam Sandler's sketch of Toll Booth Willie? In Boston too. There's a sketch where he plays a toll booth gate, and
well,
everybody
that's
goes,
on his album.
yeah, they go,
I'm
"Fu-"
coming
like,
out the booth.
Yeah, I'll come and kick your fucking ass. I'll call you Stremski your ass. You fucking, it's great.
Yeah, no, that was
You
fantastic.
motherfucker. Because everybody's just fucking with him. He goes, I
So
do know my way around New England.
at some point, there was this girl that just basically was a big stan of his and tracked him down in his career and ran backstage and hugged him and stuff.
The
And he
bitches
remembered
loved him.
her, and she found him later on again, and they ended up getting married.
It's Missy, right?
Missy.
Yeah, so
Yes.
she was a valet and she discovered him, and that's how he got into wrestling because he
Mm,
was like living in her complex, and she was like, you got to get into wrestling. And he didn't even know anything about it. It wasn't like, some of these other guys, like,
No, I think we're conflating people here.
am I?
I
Am
think
fucking
I
up?
think there's that other lady that was
Okay.
in the Buff Bagwell one,
Sure.
that she
Ye-
was the one.
Oh
that
my
was good
God, you're
friends with-
right. I'm so
Yeah,
dumb.
she was
I'm doing the Buff
the
Bagwell.
first
stuff.
lady of wrestling.
Yeah, my bad.
She's known apparently. But yeah,
Wow.
this woman was like basically a big fan, and it's actually a really sweet part because he's like madly in love with this woman,
Mm. They
and the
seem like
story,
they're sorry.
yeah, like they're really like a young couple, like
they're in love to this
playful.
day.
Yeah, and the weird thing is though is that she's also being seen as divisive because apparently she's the reason why him and Hogan are not friends
Dude,
anymore.
Hogan's got to get over that shit.
I know, right?
He's being a little bitch.
Yeah, Hogan.
He
get
does
it
induct
together.
him into the Hall of Fame, and I got to be honest. I think Ed Leslie's a good guy, and he's got a great story, and I root for him. But like, I'm just gonna be honest. He doesn't deserve to be in the WWF Hall of Fame.
You think Hogan made that happen?
Probably. I mean, he's a,
Yeah.
it's something like when you're good.
Yeah.
It's like an NFL player, like Julian Edelman is good, doesn't deserve to be in the NFL Hall of Fame. Like
sure.
there's certain guys that are very good, but like the elite should be in the Hall of Fame. It should be that special.
No, I agree, and I feel like what these Hall of Fames are now are just sort of a publicity thing as
Yeah.
opposed
They're
to
like-
an
they're like
actual
memorials.
They're
measurement.
events. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're just gonna go with more. They'll just keep putting people. I think won't baseball not even have a ceremony if they don't vote people in?
Yeah, some
they're-
years they have nobody makes it.
Yeah, like
They're
I
still
like
the
that.
hardest.
You know what? Shout out baseball. That's a
Yeah,
cool move.
You got
I
that
mean, they
going for
should
you,
let all the
baseball.
steroids guys in. I'm all for Bonds, Clemens getting in.
Sure.
It's sad, but
Oh yeah.
they still stick
I
to
would
their
have to
guns.
go and see what 80s dominant wrestlers are in the hall to see whether Brutus should be in there. I mean, he was a big part of my childhood.
I will
remember
say
him very
too,
well.
one of the greatest moments was the barber shop when
Yes.
Shawn Michaels kicked Marty Jannetty. It's one of the greatest moments where Bobby the Brain Heenan stole the moment because when Jannetty put his head through the window, he goes, "He tried to make a run for the window. That
Yeah.
coward. He tried to escape through the window." It's
No, it was an
amazing.
awesome moment. It was cool that they brought him back to do that, and you could really like they showed him real early clips of him.
Yeah.
You know, when he was just getting started and doing interviews, and he could barely talk, and now he's
They-
like hosting
yeah.
his own show on WWE.
I was
It just
gonna
shows you
say-
that the growth he had as a mic man
Yeah.
with it too, which is pretty phenomenal.
I was also gonna say for someone who had like facial reconstruction surgery, basically,
Yeah.
it looks really good.
It does. It doesn't
It
look
looks
like
it looks really
like
good.
you see these people with plastic surgery nowadays, where it's like that guy's had plastic surgery. It's like
It's
no,
very
this-
fortunate. It's a very happy story, as opposed to a lot of these dark sides that are very tragic endings. So he's lived full circle, and it looks like he's gotten through the tough times, and he's probably in his late 60s. And next thing is to just probably pass in another 10, 15 years, but hopefully he'll get another good 15, 20 years of life with his wife.
Yeah, he does look like he's a little mobility is becoming an issue for him a little bit.
Yeah.
He's kind of hunched and a little bit. But no,
Good story though.
yeah, it was a nice story. It was sweet,
Yeah.
and it was like
This is a
yeah, he
happy
had his
one.
highs and lows. It is weird to see these people you idolized in the 80s now live in these little shacks.
Becoming toll booth guys. Like
And
if
becoming
I
toll booth
was
guys
driving and Brutus was my toll booth driver, and I would be like, oh my God.
I know. I would like stop and be like, "Oh, dude, let me get a pic." There'd be a big line behind me.
I mean, that's why the
Like,
wrestler
will you
was
cut my
such a
hair?
yeah.
I have scissors in the car. Please cut my hair.
The wrestler was a great movie because when he's working in the deli at the restaurant at the grocery store, somebody recognized him and he doesn't want to be recognized. And these guys that were stars did have to take real jobs.
Oh yeah, yeah. We've already had a few of those this
Yep.
year.
Yeah.
I think all of them.
Pretty much.
Did Buff have to take a regular job at some point?
I don't think he would, but he probably.
I feel
has.
like, especially from what my
Internet's
gathering
going
is, a lot of
weird.
these like early to mid 80s and earlier guys definitely did because it wouldn't pay what it pays now.
Right, and they were I'll say a little bit exploited.
They didn't know
Little-
what
little-
the
little
future
bit.
would bring. When
Yeah.
you're working 350 days a year and then you take a day off, you get fired. So you got to get in the ring, and that means take whatever to make you feel good, and you're doing that.
Yeah,
And then it's gonna in 30 years, you're gonna figure it out. Like Razor Ramon used to talk about like being on the hotel room with Shawn Michaels, and they were just like, I can't feel my body, but like the next day, you do what
Yeah.
you do to get in the ring,
no, it's nuts. It is, and these guys were not seen. When most of these guys had entered wrestling, it was still a territory thing.
Yeah.
And then Vince McMahon was able to, sort of nationalize and
Yeah.
globalize
Mhm.
the products. So these guys
Yeah.
probably didn't realize how much money they were missing out on too, that they should have got. So anyway, and I don't even know, like, it's weird too, because wrestling was not like it wasn't something like a movie where it keeps playing all the time and
No.
you get residuals either. So they weren't like treated as actors
No,
either.
not like Mel Gibson.
No, not like Glorious Mel Gibson.
It's one of those lives where you're in it, you love it, but you hate it. And when you get out, life is
Yes.
going to be very tough.
Yes.
But you got girls that you wouldn't get. You got a lot of money. You got a lot of parties. You lived a very interesting life, but the payoff is like afterwards, it's going to cost you.
yeah, it's weird when you have a live fast and you don't die young kind of thing. You just
Yeah.
get old and decrepit, and you
Mhm.
know, it's
But I
rough.
say Brutus, he looks pretty good, like compared to like Marty Jannetty and some of those other
Yes.
guys that are hanging on.
And
Like,
admitting
Yeah.
to murder.
by the way, I know Jannetty's got a podcast now.
Maybe we should start reviewing that. I don't know.
Well, he's got
Do
a
a
couple.
collab. Let's do a collab.
Yeah,
Maddie, take the bullet and listen to his
I
podcast
will. I'm
and
sure
see if
it's
there's
like
some
the
material to
great.
work with on that.
The
'cause,
funniest thing about Jannetty is he doesn't know like any sort of etiquette. So like, Shawn Michaels is now married and a born again Christian. He doesn't want probably any of his past up. And Jannetty will be like, yeah, like we were fucking this girl together,
we
and
were
like,
taking turns. Her
yeah,
ankle was
like,
behind her head. Sean was like drooling, and
like we did anal sex, and then shit came out of her ass, and Shawn Michaels like
Shawn,
flipped on it. It was
like a
great.
banana peel in the movies. It was
Like
crazy.
his stories are so crazy.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to be listening to that one. All right, guys. Any more thoughts on the dark side? Do we know who was coming up next week?
Handsome Harley Race, which is interesting because I used to watch him, and what I've known about him is that he is the toughest guy, like literally outside the ring, he's the toughest guy. I heard like he beat the fuck out of Hogan, or he put Hogan in like a real bear hug because they got in a fight in real life.
Uh-huh.
And he was a Kansas City guy. He was a big barbecue guy. He'd probably be happy about the Chiefs right now. And
Sure.
I know just that he was a very tough guy and very respected. So that's all I know, and I'm excited to watch the episode.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next week for another edition of the Sports Hole.
Let's
Bye-bye.
go.
What's all?